Good day, and welcome to the Technical Writing Series. Today we're going to be talking about the formats for your letters and memos that will be coming up in the following weeks. Perhaps one of the biggest questions that I get is there really a difference between the format of a letter and a memo? And the answer is most certainly yes. And today I'd like to show you and talk with you about those differences so that you don't lose points on minor or major technicalities. First, let's look at the memo. If you will notice, the memo is set up on your letterhead, just like the letterhead that you designed last week. A memorandum often begins with the word memorandum. It does not have to, but memorandum is the long word for memo. The biggest difference between a letter and a memo is that the opening section of the memo is set up completely differently. You will see here that we begin with the date, with to, with from, and with subject. You do not have an address, and you do not have Dear John Smith. Your name is right here, and this signature of your initials will count as your signature. So here, this is one of the biggest differences between a letter and a memo. Now, let me show you a second alternative. It may begin with to, from, re, and date, and you'll see on this one that the date is at the end. You will also see that the word re has replaced the word subject. Re means regarding, that this is a memo regarding the verification of pay increases. So you can set it up one of those two ways. Both would be correct. So let's talk for a moment about a few spacing issues. If you choose to put the word memorandum, you would have a double space here. After your date or the last entry here, you will have a double space. After the end of your memo, you will have a double space, and after your copy, you will have a double space. Let's talk for a moment about the content of your memo. It can be anywhere from 2 to 5 paragraphs, depending on the subject matter and depending on the complexity of your memo. Once you have written your memo, you will not put your name or a complimentary close at the end. You do not put sincerely yours, John Smith. That is only for a letter. So it may seem a little strange, but your memo just ends. You will also notice here this line that begins with C. The letter C stands for copy. That means that John Reyes, the person listed right here, is going to receive a copy of this memo along with all AMCO employees. Also at the very bottom, you will see the word attachment. That means that something is going to be attached to this memo. Perhaps it's a chart or a graph, perhaps it is another letter, but it means that something is going to be attached here. One last thing I would like to call your attention to again on a memo is up here in your opening. You'll notice that all of the major words are capitalized. All AMCO employees, each word is capitalized. The person's name, almost always is capitalized. Verification pay increase, capitalized. And you will also notice that in your date, the month is always spelled out. Do not abbreviate the date on any formal correspondence. Let's take a look at a letter now. Again, you will see that it is set up on the letterhead, but a letter begins with the date, unlike the memo. Here is the person to whom you're writing the letter, and you need to always try to find the person's name. Do not begin a letter or a memo with "to whom it may concern." Call the company, look for it in print, but try to find the person's name. You will also see the address, and you will see your opening here, your salutation, "Dear Mr. Love," and then you see the body of your letter, and then you see your complimentary close, your name, and your signature. Now let's talk for a moment about some of the spacing issues on a letter. Again, the date is spelled out completely. After the date, you double space, and then you put the person's name and address. you double space, you put your opening, Dear Mr. Love, you double space, and then you write your letter. At the end of your letter, you double space and you put Sincerely Yours, your complimentary close, or just Sincerely, and then a comma. And then you triple space and put your name, and in between your complimentary close and your name is where you will put your signature. So those are some of the major differences in the formats between your memo and your letter. Now let's take a moment and just talk about the good news memo that you have coming up in the coming weeks. With your good news memo, you're going to be writing a memo that simply details good news. You might assume that you are the CEO of a company and you're writing about a pay increase. You might pretend that you're the leader of a group and you're writing about a grant that was just received for the entire group. Now, the subject matter can be fictionalized, but I don't want it to be crazy and silly. I don't want you to write a good news memo from Dr. Kirk of the SS Enterprise saying that good news, all Klingons are dead. So I do want it to be a serious professional letter, but the content can be fictionalized. Now, this week you will be doing your letter of inquiry. And on your letter of inquiry, I want you to understand that this is not a letter that accompanies an application or a resume. So it's not a cover letter to an application or a resume. That is one of the biggest mistakes that I get from students. This is a letter where you are actually inquiring about something. So yes, you could be writing the CEO of a company to inquire about the job listing that you saw, the responsibilities of that job, the method of application for that job, but this is not an introductory cover letter for an application or a resume. You might write a company and ask them or inquire about a certain line of products and when that new product line is coming out. You may write the director of a conference that you would like to attend and ask them about the conference, the fees, the speaker, the dates, and those types of things. So again, your subject matter can be fictionalized, but I do want it to be professional. So today we have explained the major differences between a memo and a letter. You know that you have a good news memo coming up. You know that this week you have a letter of inquiry coming up. Happy writing, and make sure that you email me if you have any questions or problems.